call the meeting to order. And our first item is going to be the Pledge of Allegiance. We ask Sergeant Carroll and one of the students to come forward.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Would you like to tell us something about this young man?
Well, this is Chase Hall. He's one of my freshmen this year. And I brought Chase tonight because it's a dual purpose. First of all, he's one of my up-and-coming leaders for next year in our program, as well as he's also one of your Shelton Clark Cardinals on the football team. So I'll let him answer any questions that you have, and hopefully he's a good answerer.
Well, I'd like to commend you for being in the program. I'm sure Sergeant Carroll worked you hard, and I like the name Chase. And you're a football player, so this had nothing pertaining to JROTC, but how's your lead football coach?
He's all right.
Do you find it difficult to juggle any after-school OTC activities with your football practice or anything? I mean, do they conflict?
Not much.
Okay,
Really.
yeah.
The good thing is, one thing I try to do is I try to work with the football coach because I like to have the athletes in the program as well,
Sure.
helps them build some good leadership skills. But whatever they have, what the coach needs them to do for practice, anything like that, to me, right now, that takes precedence over anything I've got going. Then once their season's over, they come right back to me and we continue driving on. And Chase this year was also on my Raider team, so there was one night they got back at about 5:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, coming back from a football game that they'd gone a long ways away. He got off their bus and got on my bus and went to the next event.
Wow.
So he doesn't lose any sleep. So I know you're only a freshman, but what do you look as far as some of the future plans? Looking at the Army as a career or military?
Well, I'm either gonna go to college for a teacher, or I'm either gonna go to the Air Force.
Well, that's pretty well the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that sounds like two great careers you're looking at. And nothing against Sergeant Carroll, but I hope you look to teaching. It's a great job, and it's very rewarding. You need to make a difference in somebody's life, which you can with a teacher, and also as a military person too. So.
I appreciate you coming today, Chase.
Thank you.
Take care of Sergeant Carroll.
Well, he's got 3 more years to look after me, so.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
You're welcome.
So your Raider team's doing real good.
We had a good year so far this year. I'm expecting better things next year. We had one more competition coming up, but the bad part is there are not a lot of young ladies that like to go compete. And that's what I'm hurting for more than anything else, is young ladies that want to go compete. And because every competition we go to requires at least one, and the one that was coming up at the end of the month requires 2, and my second young lady is now injured and she can't go, so we're hurting. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of an educational and team building exercise. We're going to go to Eastern Kentucky University over there to the obstacle course they have and take all the cadets that like to compete and go through a 4-hour program up there on a Saturday and let them learn some team building skills up there.
So the morning he got out, like at 5 o'clock, got home and got on your bus, was that at the Belfry thing?
No, that one was actually when we went to Grant County.
Long.
It was a long ride.
Where's the football team been?
Where did y'all leave? Where?
McCleary.
McCreary.
Okay. You were sleeping on the bus?
He did sleep on the way back from our competition on the bus because I think he was about spent at that point.
I was.
We look forward to seeing you, like I say, 3 more years.
3 more years, and he'll be back in here to greet you a few more times as we move him up through the ranks and give him more positions of responsibility throughout the program.
We look forward to it.
Okay. Thank you, and we appreciate the job you're doing, Sergeant Carroll.
Look forward to many more years ahead. Stand short. Up about, thanks. March.
Okay, we're going to kind of tweak this a little bit, our agenda. And student spotlight, it says none at this time, but we do have some from Warfield Middle School. Martin County Middle School, I'm sorry.
Oh, happy part of the break, ain't they?
Okay, last month, at the end of the month, well, first of all, back in the fall, we had students to compete in a regional competition, and these 5 kids won region. And then they went on at the end of last month to state competition in Louisville, and they bloated out of the water. I got 4 first place and 1 second place, and this is competition that was against high school students.
Do you have the students with you?
Yes, I
Would you
did.
like to bring them up front?
Yes, I
please?
will. I've got 3 of them with me, and the other 2 had something that they had to do with, that pertained to something else they were doing that they couldn't get here. But, Devin and Carson, they did a competition with, it was technology based, and it's on YouTube. And getting a lot of comments on it, a lot of good positive feedback. As a matter of fact, the state is going to use it for their career and technical, to use their video, their commercial type video to promote and publicize career and technical education. And then Shelby and Skyla, they had a bully box, and I'm going to let her tell you all a little bit about that. Now, they have their video if you all want to see it. But the 5 kids that I have, they qualified to go to national in San Diego, California. And I raised money to send them to states and do all that. So, you know, it's according to them being able to go. And I'm hoping they get that opportunity, because how many state champions do you have walking around? That's the way I see it, you know. And they're getting to the point now where they're saying, where is Martin Hickman? You know, where's these kids coming from? It's winning every year. So, you know, they've made their mark. And this is my last year. I'm going to be retiring, and I've been told that we're going to try to get a teacher, so that's great. But, and program again, that's real important there. But I'm really proud of the 5 kids that won, especially because they competed on such a high level. And it's a lot of work. We did a lot of things this year with them. We've been to nursing homes, we've been to Paintsville, we went to state, we raised $1,000 for pennies for patients for leukemia. I mean, we've done a lot of community service and a lot of things to help us to look better and to make us better, you know, a better person. And my other students at the school also, they just jump in and they just do everything. I mean, you know, it's like they're a part, and we affiliate the whole school, so we have the whole school affiliated. And any student that wants to can do a project, but it's a lot of work. These kids have been working since way back in the fall. So I'm just really proud of them. And it's sort of a mixed bag for me, retiring, you know. Everybody says, oh, you can't quit. You know, but there comes a time, and I have to let's do some traveling. But
Did you say these kids competed against high school?
oh, yeah. They bloated out of water. I mean, we text Mr. Haney and said, we've got a state champion. He said, oh, wow, that's good. And then we texted him again in a few minutes, said, we got another one. And then I called him and said, I've got 5, what do I do? And he said, you're kidding. I mean, he was just so excited, you know. But 5 state champions, that's really good. And these guys have done a good job. But I think you might have brought your video. I don't know if you did or not, but if you didn't, that's okay. You got it?
Yes.
If you all got a minute, you can look at it there. I'll take that right at
I just
me.
want to
Is that
congratulate you and
is
commend
that-
you.
is that
Of course,
the new one?
these kids go to San Diego, from what I hear about San Diego, I've never been there myself, but they won't want to come back.
Yeah. Well, I feel really confident about their projects. I truly believe that they're going to have the work cut out for them if they beat them, because we have worked really hard and we're going to continue to work hard, because I don't like to lose. I mean, you know, I like to win. If you're going to go after it, go after it. And that's, but I really feel like that, you know, they have done a good job. And
Send the
and
link to me and I'll
Shelby,
share it.
here, the good thing about her is she's going to tell you a little bit about her. She's going to go and her career is going to be journalism. And she's already been on the news stations with this. She put the bully boxes in different schools, and they've been a good success for them. And not only that, but there's other school districts now wanting to use the project she started. So, you know, that's pretty cool. The bully box, they put it.
I was unaware that, Shelby, that you were,
Yeah, they've done really good.
she's very good.
Yeah, we
Good
do.
lad.
Is it ready?
Yeah.
Just a little bit of the thing that was on YouTube there, and it's on YouTube, and the State Department has it too, and they're real excited about it. It's just all like a little bit of the things that we've done. If you notice, you see how many kids throughout the school that's involved in our program. That's the good thing about it.
Martin County Middle School, family and community leaders of America, are a dynamic duo that gives us the power to change the world. At Martin County Middle School, we work to promote our NCCLA state goals.
This year, we have increased our school membership by 5%. Last year, we had 80 members. This year, we have 85%.
MCMS has worked in partnership with our high school NCCLA to increase donations for our statewide community service project, Pennies for Patrons.
They raised over
MCMS's
$1,000.
FCCLA has submitted several news articles to the local newspaper and has made a Martin County Middle School FCCLA Twitter page to get information out to students and community members about our activities.
Our events is a very exciting program at our school. We currently have more than 15 students participating in the regional star events. Our FCCLA program has several projects that impact our entire student body. Our chapter has started an anti-bullying campaign at our school called Cardinals Take Flight against bullying. Others will take the bullying. At Christmas, our entire chapter traveled to the Martin County Healthcare Facility where we held a holiday celebration for the elderly. We brought cards, gifts, refreshments, and hosted activities and spent one-on-one time with the residents.
Our promote and publicize campaigns and packaging through all of our school announcements and Why We Love FCCLA self-posts.
Also promoted MCMS FCCLA by painting a banner and asking people to sign their names to show how much FCCLA has made a difference in their life. In order to maintain a positive chapter, it is necessary to have a strong and effective advisor who is innovative, encouraging, and supportive. Martin County Middle School definitely has that in Mrs. Carol Chapins.
Hello, my name is Carol Chapins, and I am the Family and Consumer Science teacher at Martin County Middle School. I've been doing this for about 14 years. Over the years, we've had national and state champions almost every year. FCCLA means a lot to different kinds of students because there's some students that never get to do anything, and in this program, they get to compete, they get to go places that they might not get to go. And if they do projects and do a lot of hard work, sometimes they'll get their state and even national.
Martin County Middle School. Martin County Middle School.
Martin County Middle School.
Martin County Middle School.
And FCCLA. And FCCLA.
And FCCLA.
Your future starts here.
Your future starts here. Your future starts here. Your future starts here.
Your future starts here.
Your future starts here.
Your future starts here.
Your future starts here.
That's just kind of their little commercial that they did with their presentation that they did. And the lady from state asked if she could use it, so I thought that was kind of
good.
But these kids have worked really hard, and she was going to tell you just a little bit about what they're doing, and then we just wanted to highlight our program and to let you all know we thank you for the support that you can give us. And hopefully we can figure out a way to take these kids to national. I said, I've been trying to retire since February, and I keep doing things, and they said, Miss Jenkins, please stay and don't leave, because if you do, then we won't be able to do this. And so I stayed, and then they won that regional, so I had to stay for state, and now they won state, so I told them if they won, that I would take them, and if they get to go, so.
Okay, the nationals, how much does it cost? I mean.
Well, it, you know, they have a set rate that they give, that they have for their package, you know, they have a cheaper price on the room, and they have a package where they send them places and do certain things with them. It's a ballpark package, and then they have to fly out
Well,
there.
how much do you have to raise?
I'm not really sure, it is,
It's gonna cost right around $2,200 to $2,500 per student to cover just the
Cover
flight, their room, and registration fees for the conference.
they have a package where everything's included with the kids.
So you're talking, what, 5 students around?
5 students.
10,000.
10, 11?
Well, and you gotta allow for adjustments depending on what time we book the flights. The longer we wait to book the
Sure.
flights, the more
Yeah.
they're gonna get. Luggage will be additional, of course. I mean, there'll be little extras along the way, but that's a good ballpark.
And how y'all on fundraising?
Well, we fundraised before, like I had Monster Bash and different things.
Right
that
now,
I
we're
had for
making
them.
shirts and selling shirts
Yeah,
to
we're gonna
raise
do
money, and then
that.
we're gonna start doing dinners. And we're open to suggestions.
So what's it, okay, when do you have to have that money?
We have
Our
to,
first deadline for the rooms and for registration is May 4th.
well, April 25th, we have to,
It has to be, you have to,
yeah, we have to apply for state and all
You
that.
have to
by May 20th.
register by then, but to get the discount, everything has to be in by May 4th.
Yeah.
I'm sure Ross Arnold's on
Well, we can sure use the help, because we'll take it from where we can get it. I mean, you know, how many times do you have state champions, especially at this level?
Then I congratulate you, and of course, these kids, when I was coaching, I said, your job is to make them look good, and they certainly make.
Oh, they have, and I'm so proud, and I'm proud of what it does for confidence. When you win, it really helps your confidence, and then if you go on and win again, and it looks really good on the resume. People like George Strait and different people like that you would have never thought would have been in FCCLA, you know, they were in it, and they said it contributed to their leadership skills. And
You better take some. Look at, second thoughts about retiring, so.
Well, my
I said,
husband's
if I
wanting
had
to
to do,
travel.
if I had it to do over, that's why I'd still be teaching.
Well,
So it
I
doesn't like
was
being
thinking
around
about
kids.
that, Mr. Harless, I was thinking about that the other day. I was thinking, you know, I've been active in the school system for a long time in one capacity or another. And I don't know what I'm gonna do after I get the cleaning done and the traveling done.
and Ms. Chapins didn't mention that, but she was also, I said Ms. Chapins didn't mention this, but she was also recognized for her commitment, for all of her years of commitment to family and consumer sciences at the state conference. And I've got some lovely pictures of her where she was recognized in front of everyone and with a plaque and everything. She's really good for these kids.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, I do remember whenever Warfield Middle was being, the old Warfield Middle, now Mott County Middle School, when it was rebuilt, that she was very much, I mean, you know, we come up with this planning committee for the school, so one person got to be on that is, you know, Ms. Chapin, because that school of ours is absolutely beautiful, and she was involved in every little detail.
Yeah, I get off work and go down there and walk the roof and everything at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And she's gonna tell you a little bit, and then we'll let you all back to what you're doing, and thank you
I
for.
think in the past, the board has held the state, or the national,
Yeah.
conferences. I've talked to Mr. Haney, we're working on some things, he's told me that he's gonna be able to help, we just don't know the exact dollar amount.
He's very good, very supportive of kids.
Yeah.
And we've been talking this morning about doing some things and maybe sending out some letters and things like that. But I'd hate but not to see him go, because you don't say, well, you won state and you just stop here.
So
I
we
just-
send you on a one-way trip, though, it won't cost us.
That might not be a bad idea, but then when I get there, I don't know. But she's gonna tell a little bit about hers, if you don't
San
mind.
Diego, something you'll remember the rest of your life.
Yeah. And I thank you all for your time as far as I'm concerned, and she's gonna tell you a little bit about boys. Get your thing there.
Good afternoon. My name is Shelby Borders. I'm a 6th grader in Martin County Middle School and an active member of the FCCLA. As all of you know, March 29th through the 31st, 5 of our Martin County Middle School chapter members under the care and direction of our sponsor, Ms. Carol Chapins, went to the state FCCLA conference in Louisville to compete in star events. Macy Harless competed in the chapter service project with her Pennies for Patients project and placed second. Carson Hansen and Devin Cassidy placed first in Promote and Publicize, and Skyla Messer and myself placed first in the category of interpersonal communications with our Cardinals Take Flight anti-bullying movement. Ladies and gentlemen, that means every student that went to state to represent you, our schools, and our community has now been extended the opportunity to compete in a national level in San Diego, California. FCCLA for me has proven to be so much more than just a club. It has given us a way to make a difference. So many sick children will benefit from the money Macy was able to collect. Because of Carson and Devin's work to promote FCCLA, they also put a positive light on the people of Martin County. And if even one student is able to have a more successful day of school because of the tools that Skyla and I helped get in place, then in my book, the reward was worth the effort. This FCCLA program is helping to build the future leaders of this community. The lessons we learned today will help us be ready to leave our marks alongside the ones who are making it for us right now. Thank you.
Do we need any action on that, or just something that you're going to check into, or?
Well, they know what they need to know by, what was April 25th?
April 24th and 25th, I'll have to look at it again.
Is that
You have
when
to
you-
have them registered by that time.
So I guess we need vote to, we're gonna help with the national, we just don't know the dollar amount yet, which I can give that to you later, but I'm not saying.
We're gonna try to raise
Right.
the money and
Right.
do things with it, and then I think Mr. Haney's gonna.
Yeah, Mr. Haney said he can definitely help, he's seeing how much, and they're looking, cause all the parents are gonna go. So if the parent stays with the kid, which makes everybody feel better, that can even be half the room, half the cost of the room. If the parent pays half and we pay the other half of the student, so. We'll know some final numbers here soon.
If we do it that way, you're looking at about, instead of 22 or 25, you're looking at somewhere around $600 to $650 off that. So you're looking at like say $1,600, $1,700 per student.
That's with flight and everything, isn't it?
That's flight, registration for the conference. Registration for the conference is almost $300 a student. And then the flight and their room, half of the hotel room would be
And
that.
that includes like their activities, whatever they're gonna do as a national.
The
So you're
competition.
looking around $8,000, roughly, if they did.
Between
It'd be
eight.
nice to have a corporate sponsor.
Yeah, it would.
Don't you work for a
I have
corporation?
someone that will write letters for you, tell us where to send them.
Yeah,
I said, I have someone to write letters, just tell me where to send
yeah,
them.
we would be more than glad to do whatever we need to do.
That would be nice.
I feel like that if these kids have an opportunity, they'll probably come back to some national champions, because we have done that before on different occasions.
Yeah, we've paid for former student state champions to go on national conferences. So we've done in the past.
We need a motion to help them with their trip?
To the extent possible, we don't have our.
Yes,
Mr. James, Connie Harless called today and said she was gonna have a fundraiser also, that she would maybe see what they raise and see what they lack. And then do the motion.
Maybe we should wait and see if they win before we.
I don't think it works that way.
How could we do this?
If you made a motion to the effect that you would have to amend the agenda, because
We
it's
would, yes.
not an agenda item. But I think with Mr. James already saying that he and Mr. Haney, and I think the board is all for helping, and I think once they get the numbers, and if it needs to, we can take this up at a special meeting. I
Yes.
wouldn't care at all to come out and,
Okay. So, you will check on this and find out, and then let us know, and we will.
Or we
Work
could
at it
say,
from
or we
there.
could say you know, we could say up to the $8,000 and not, if you want to commit that much. I'm just saying up to, so if it comes in less, or it might be better, let's find out the exact.
Yeah, find out the
Yeah.
number, then we'll come back and everything.
Yeah.
And then we'll check with our fines.
Yes, person, okay. And thank you, Ms. Chapins, for what you do for all the students at Martin County Middle School. We appreciate you.
It's already the same thing that
Okay, you don't have anything at faculty spotlight?
I'd just like to make one comment, Hannah,
Okay.
I'd just like to make a statement, of course, our ATC and Skills USA, which they had their recent regional competition, and I think we had 15 first place. And of course, Mike Jew being one of the sponsors and called me, in which he was excited, and I'm excited that every year, or the past couple of years, we've applied, which for the Lowe's grant. And of course, his project, or Skills USA, these kids have persevered, been persistent, got turned down, I think maybe once, maybe twice, but they got news Friday that they had won the grant, the Lowe's grant, to, I think they're going to use it maybe to build a couple of gazebos at the high school to improve the grounds and picnic area for the kids. So I'm very proud of them and Skills USA, which they have their state competition I think they leave Wednesday, but I'd just like to bring that out. What our kids can do, and we see, given the opportunity, and they are very successful at what they do, and of course they got to have people behind them, like the coaches and teachers and sponsors to push them, and that's what it takes. And I'm very proud of each of your kids and these kids at Skills USA, so what Mike has done. But you try for a grant, and Paul can relate to that. You try and you get turned down, and then finally, it happens. So, and I'm happy for them. And, so that's all.
Okay, there's one more item that we need to change on this. The next item will be discussion and possible action on Eden Elementary School metal roof repairs and rebid.
As right now, the one roof bid was, came in, base bid amount of $312,800. We don't recommend, this has come from us around, we don't recommend that amount. So, I think we need to recommend rebidding the project. I guess the question now becomes, do we go with what gauge metal we want to use, or do we want to go with shingles? And, or we can go with the shingle. We rebid for 24 gauge or below, or do we rebid for shingles?
Well, we rebid just whatever comes in, metal and.
You have to specify which one you're going to.
Well, okay, so the first action item what we're proposing, because the 312 is over your budget, it was actually very simple for Roland to put the letter together to say, look, unless you want to change your budget, okay, you would reject the bids that were received on this pre-bid from Riddle over the metal. Now, with that, if that happens, then yes, the next thing would be, we still have a roof over there that is needing to be redone. And since we have already gone through both a bid for the shingles and now a bid for the metal, it's not a bad suggestion, Ms. Walker, to protect yourself. I would hate to end up trying to bid it with the metal only and not get a bid, or get another bid that's going to be over your budget. We had a bid that we knew we came in below budget for the shingles. We've rejected those bids, so talking with KDE, they are actually indicated that we would need to rebid even for the shingles. So I'm not sure whether we would have to create, I have to talk with KDE, like to have two diverse roofs like that, two different packages, because you wouldn't be competing, one against the other, unless we want to write it up that way where whoever is low, whatever roof they want to provide, if that's the one you want, then that's how we would have to write it up, or if you're actually trying to create two distinct bid packages, and if, let's say, the metal was a little higher, but you wanted to do that, then you could, or if the shingles were a little higher and you wanted to do it, you could, depending on who submitted what price. I mean, or if you know what you want to do today, then that's the way we would bid it, if you want to authorize a rebid.
So we need to decide if we wanna go metal, or do we wanna go with
Shingles, I think that would be more appropriate. I would hate to see
But
all
you
these.
can't go like a dual package, are we talking?
Good, I mean, you've got a lot of people that you had 8 people that picked up packages on the metal and only one bidder. I mean, one has admitted that they were kind of like misunderstood or somehow didn't get it done.
And we had 5
You had
bids
5
on the
shingles, and I think there might have been 7 or 8 that actually picked up, you know. And you had those, and so now those people would be prepared to bid again. But if, I'm not sure what kind of bid you'll get. I mean, you gotta understand, these are people trying to make a living and do whatever. If they think that you wanna do metal, then you might have some shingle people not even bid it. And I would hate for them to go through it if you in fact know you want metal.
But you can do both. I mean, you can do,
You've already done both,
yeah.
and we're still gonna get ready to do it again. I'm just trying to figure out what is the best way to get the best bid.
I don't know if we're gonna rebid it, what's your opinion, Mike? I like the dual, look at both. Of course, we're looking at the economic aspects of it, that's one of our things, we're staying within our budget. Metal comes in lower than shingles, or if shingles comes in lower than metal, which we got this one particular, which you said the best, on the shingles, 158.
Yeah.
I said 156, 898, so we'll round it off, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and, which the bid, which is a different, what we're looking at, the people that were here today, I'd like to know what their bid is.
And that's what, I'd like to know what their bid is.
They told us,
So,
they told us they don't have 24.
Are you saying, sir, that if we dual bid, that a lot of people on the shingle part won't bid if they think we want a metal roof? Is that what you were saying?
Well, there's going to be confusion out there in the marketplace.
Right.
So, but let me, along those lines, let me ask this. One of the things I'm really concerned about is that even for the original bid with shingles, we had a small canopy that was an alternate that still came in too high to do. And then for this second bid, we put a lot of details together and bid a canopy that came in at almost $150,000. One of the things that I would like to suggest is we eliminate the canopy altogether from the bidding process, because that canopy is involving demo of the concrete walk, installing new foundations and structure, doing storm drainage and everything off there. And so a roofing contractor is not real excited about trying to do all that work or find somebody to do that work for them. So unless there's going to be more money to the project, I don't know that any one of these bids is going to be with that alternate be under. And you're asking people to do a lot of work. And and I think one of the things that happened here with Riddle is that bid the metal is also had another roofing contractor, and Riddle is actually more of a general contractor. And so that was one of the reasons they put a bid together. They got a bid from a roofing contractor, and then they were actually the ones going to do most of the canopy work. So
as far as the canopy, which we have the present principal, and we also have the former principal, Ms. Preston, so what's your take as far as the need for that canopy as our kids load buses? I mean, how badly is it needed?
There has been several occasions we've had to move students through the building to load buses on the side of the building because they would have had to go out in inclement weather and truck through there to get to buses. That's happened on multiple occasions this year. It's a long distance they have to walk in the elements, and all, I would like to make the point that both elementary schools besides us have canopies at their school as well for their drop-offs and pickups.
Can I ask Mike, what's your recommendation, Mike?
Well, first of all, what do you think, Ms. Preston, for the canopy? You were there more years than anyone.
I have to agree with Mr. Hall. The other two schools do have canopies, and at times our parents have become very irate because of that, and I can't really blame them because it is quite a distance for our kids to walk. And we have had to reroute them at times because of the weather. I agree that the cost is over the budget. I agree with that. I know that contractors do not like to do the extra work that comes in, but isn't there another solution that you can come up with on that? I see.
I know all three of us, myself, and we kind of had our heart set on getting that canopy so our kids could load.
Could we bid that separately?
Well, it can be part of the bid, I'm just saying that, understand that
We just don't have the
we're
budget.
seeing the evidence that there's just, the bids being what they are, and we made the canopy even better and more appropriate this second time, and it came in, significantly higher. And so you're talking about again, the canopy is as much or close to the bid for the shingles. It was at $158, and this is $149,750.
So maybe do the shingles now, and then like what Kenny was talking about, bid for the canopy later.
First and foremost, we need to protect that school, the roof, the floor.
Which we're gonna have to replace some of the flooring.
Right, that's what I would say. We did the canopy.
May I add too, there are places now on the playing floor where it's starting to leak there now. That's gonna do some major damage if that continues. We're having new leaks periodically coming in at that gym.
So most of the leaks occur in the middle section of the building, right? The cafeteria, the gym, library, Miss Klein's room, and the bathroom, I think,
But we're constantly replacing
storage room
tiles,
there.
we're constantly putting garbage cans under. It's just a lot. It really needs to be addressed as soon as possible.
When you see a new leak, what do you do? I mean, do you alert maintenance?
It's kind of, we put something under it and get it, try to get, especially in the gym, if it's something in the gym, it's like.
No one gets on top and tries to patch it or put a tarp over it?
Well, we've tried tarps and they've blown off, wrinkled up, and then that makes it worse, and we've had to take some of those off the building now, and, that's another cost involved in that as well.
So what are your thoughts on it?
On the roof.
So on the
On the
shingle,
roof, on the roof canopy. and
what
all.
color can you get blue shingles?
Can you get blue shingles? You can get close to a blue, I mean, it won't be.
Whichever, that's another thing we're looking at, they like the blue metal roof, and of course, the Eden's colors, so
I think you bid both of them,
I think.
metal and shingles, and see what you get.
Build.
And build the canopy separate, because like you said, it's a whole other contractor to build the canopy.
I think so too.
That's the way I do
Do
it.
that separately.
So that
What you
the
get.
canopy doesn't have to be a part of the bid. It can be an add-on, such as the other
somebody
things
builds
with
that.
the new school is the gray areas.
I say bid that separately later. Let's get the
Later.
roof fixed.
Okay, let's concentrate on the roof, because from a budget
I
perspective.
don't really wanna bid it separately, I wanna get them both, if possible.
Would it save us any money?
Well, I want to, but, it's public money too, and
We can
that's,
still take a bid just for the roof, and then you also get a bid for it, so it don't really make that big of.
If the canopy was coming in as much as the roof was, that's going to.
Yeah, I mean, okay,
It's almost as much
it's just
as our
dollars and
budget.
cents, okay? I mean, I'd love for you to have the canopy too.
Yeah.
Right, me too.
It's just a question of whether it's an alternate that modifies who's gonna bid the project, because it takes a general contractor to do the canopy versus just having the roofing contractor, who is gonna be more competitive if he can just give you a price to do the work that they do.
So,
I agree with that, Gary, and that if I'm a roofer and I have to hire you to build that canopy, I'm gonna bid probably $20,000 or $30,000 more to protect myself in case you mess up.
right, so you
I
would
think
bid that
you're calling
separately.
apples in the basket, the apples, you're gonna get 3 different bids, it's gonna come out with a better price.
So we talking about the camp, you talking about from even going straight, or you talking about going sideways? What kind of canopy are we talking about? Cost $150,000.
It goes through that back door next to the cafeteria, yeah. And it comes out, there's a set of double doors there, and it pretty much kind of, where the classroom wing comes over and the cafeteria comes over, there's kind of a little section. Comes straight out to the sidewalk, to the edge where the buses drop off and turns 90 degrees and then goes down the length of the sidewalk.
Behind the school.
Is there a canopy out front?
I mean, a small one over the main doors, but not, there's nothing like that as a long.
Not for loading buses or something.
Yeah.
Shingle companies, people are hungry for work.
All right, I didn't get what, Mike, okay, what did you say exactly? I couldn't hear you, I'm sorry.
I just think your best bid would be go ahead and bid the shingles, bid the metal, and then do the canopy separate, because you're gonna have 3 different bids
Okay.
to look at it, and you've got time.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
I know it's
not-
more work.
It's the money is the only thing I'm concerned about, over whether you really, I mean, put it this way, I mean, you're asking us, I mean, because we're having to invoice for everything that we're doing, okay? I mean, we're willing to do that, but I want to be careful about the fact that now it sounds like we're going down a road where we're going to say, create a whole separate set of bid documents for the canopy within the context of a BG1 that has a construction budget that we know we're going to be well over. And so I want to just be clear that, okay, you know that you're going to be over your budget. And unless you're going to come up with more money, that we're going to do this and have us do the work, contractors do the work as far as the bidding, only to then, say, okay, do we have the money to do that or not? I mean, I want to be careful too. I mean, because Greg Dunbar in the Department of Education is going to know why we're bidding $400,000 worth of work and
Nobody's doing it.
and only have
$178,000
of money.
I don't think we can,
Oh, but no, we can't. Probably not gonna be able to afford the 24 gauge metal roof.
No.
Right, 24 gauge, that's what you actually have in the state.
That's what we want.
312.
Right,
That's what we want.
Again, for that.
And, but we talked about that, and that's why we ended up with the shingles for the initial bid. And now the good thing, I mean, I'm happy with the fact that we've pretty much told you, we thought that the metal, the 24 gauge would be double, and in fact it was. And we went from 158 to 312. Now we're back to trying to find this 29 gauge, which we worked with, the manufacturer and several manufacturers we had discussions with about, okay, how can we accomplish this? And the more we talked about it, several people declined to say that they did not want to put that on a school. And now we have somebody that is willing, and so you're gonna, and we're willing to give them that opportunity. If you want to bid that again, we'll create a package that way and put it back out there. We'll call KDE, we may need to submit something to KDE for their approval again, since we've kind of modified this. I mean, we did a KDE approval to go from shingles to the metal. And so now we'll go to KDE and say, okay, we want to do it, kind of bid pack 1 and bid pack 2, and have 2 different people trying to bid, and then the board can decide which way you want to go.
Okay, with 29 gauge.
With 29 gauge.
Yeah.
Mr. Superintendent,
Yes, sir.
I'll just go right down the line. I'm for shingles and bid it like that myself. I don't know.
Me too.
We could be at this all night, but from what I heard from the metal, one particular metal people tonight, as far as the high gauge, and what I've heard from you, and what I've heard from other people before this meeting about high gauge, and when I learned that McGoffin County High School has chose to do a 22 gauge on their school, then I'm very uncomfortable with anything under 24 that we can't afford. And I know what our budget is, so that's just what I believe, and, you know, I just want to make that clear.
I agree.
So
I mean,
you want to make a motion to that effect then, that we go with the shingles?
Well, I can, I guess, but, you know, and then we vote it down if you don't like it, and that's fine with me. I mean,
I would like to have metal too, but we can't afford the 24.
we know what our budget is.
Right. But I agree with you about the shingles.
Really, I was just, I don't have to make a motion, or I will, but I was just telling the superintendent, you know, what do you think, Mr. Superintendent?
I've been reading a lot about metal roofs here lately. And,
Yeah.
one thing I read last night was, had this one guy gave an analogy of 29 gauge, like a Dr. Pepper can is like 37 gauge. The hood of your roof of your car, the hood of your car is 20 gauge, and you know what hell does to the hood of your car. You put something that's a little bit thicker than a pop can on top of your school, and nobody does it. Nobody puts 29 gauge on schools. That's why, you know, architects tell us 24 or thicker, and I had another friend that's architect, and he says, don't put nothing on there higher than a 24 gauge. I worry about the 29. We've been burnt on roofs before.
Amen.
We get a 29 gauge, and everybody's telling us don't do it. You know, I'm no roofer. I mean, I trust it. Mr. McCoy said we need to trust our architects, you know, what they recommend too. I mean, I would recommend, I'd love to have a metal roof, but I don't know if we can afford it. I don't think we can't afford it, especially if we want to get a canopy too.
Yeah.
I mean, our best shot of getting a canopy would be the shingles and try to get it. Maybe we can do the 20. Now, are we talking about a metal roof for the canopy? We could do probably 29 gauge for it, couldn't we?
No, because now it doesn't have any support. It has to be a heavier gauge because it's freestanding kind of, or spanning between the supports.
What is the other two elementaries? What are the other two elementaries awnings made out of? Anyone know? Mr. James?
It's metal. Blue,
Yeah.
I mean, this is blue.
Do you remember what gauge it is?
I don't know. I know the roof that at the football field, when we put the new roof on it, it's 29 gauge.
29.
Everything I've read, I mean, they recommend 29 gauge for garages.
Dugouts, the pavilion,
Right.
picnic pavilions.
Right, recommend 26 for your homes.
Shelters, picnic shelters.
And 24 and below for commercial buildings. I mean, if I'm building if I'm gonna put a metal roof on my house, I'm probably not gonna get 29. I mean, if I can afford it. Now, a lot of it's what you can afford. But if I can afford it, I would do what they recommend. I'd do at least 26. But it's a board decision on how we want to go.
So for shingles, we're looking at 158,000.
We've got to rebid it again.
We'll rebid it.
Right.
Well, I mean, that was the low.
So it can.
What was the problem with 132 again?
They weren't
He
qualified.
wasn't a qualified installer when we talked to the manufacturer. You know, as part of the bidding process, we go through and check the paperwork that they submit. And so in doing some checking on that specific contractor, he was not part of the manufacturer's certified, you know, one of their certified installers, so.
It's the kind of thing that may have been what happened on the initial roof at Eden, where maybe they weren't trained properly, or they certainly didn't install it properly. And so we're trying to avoid that again and get a warranty. Again, 30-year material warranty on the shingle, and then a 20-year water tightness warranty from the manufacturer that includes the workmanship.
And the bid that was the lowest acceptable bid.
Correct.
Was almost half the price of what a 24 gauge metal roof quote was given.
Yes.
Correct, sir?
Correct.
I'll make a motion that we just rebid it, like Mike said, with the shingle metal, just do it. I mean, it doesn't have to be one or the other, does it? Doesn't.
No, I mean, we can go through the paperwork, you're gonna end up having, I mean, what I understand here is that we would bid it with one package being for shingles, so there, and then another package being for metal. Or, and then those people are competing and you decide which one you want. Or we could do it with just an open bid, either or contractor option, and the low bid is the one you're gonna end up pretty much taking.
I like the latter, the either or.
Is the bidding process and the makeup of the bid's gonna cost us more money if we bid both of these like that? As opposed to if we just select one or the other type?
It would cost, okay, well, we're gonna rebid, it would cost a little more to try to create two separate bidding packages so that you actually have two separate bids being received versus having one bid with the contractor option to bid it as either shingles or bid it as metal, with the implied understanding then the lowest bid will be the winning bid. Lowest qualified, but will be the winning bid.
But the 24 gauge is going to cost us.
This would be back to the 29.
Yeah.
I mean, 24, you know, it's not
Yeah.
Well, the motion's on the floor, I guess.
What was the motion?
The motion was to do it like Mike said.
Okay.
That's the way I heard it.
Well, both include both the metal and the shingles.
For 24.
Is that what, Mike, is that what you were talking about, Mike?
Yeah, Mike.
For 24 and lower, right?
No,
Because we
29.
don't want to do,
Well, you know 24 is gonna be
Too expensive.
right.
too expensive.
So-
You had an hour
So that makes
discussion on
sense.
29 gauge metal, so that seems to be the bid you were soliciting.
Right.
So we had a 1 hour discussion on 29 gauge metal. So if you bid it, you'd probably go up to 29 and see what the bid comes in. That's the way it looks to me.
But
But we want 29 gauge on our schools,
Well, that's the
our
question.
school.
Yeah, okay, as your architect, I'm gonna go out here and tell you, just like we have consistently, we don't recommend a 29 gauge exposed fastener metal roof for Eden Elementary. Now, if you wanna bid it that way, we've already done that or tried to do that and gotten no bidders. Now you have a company that would like the opportunity to bid it because they didn't know enough or weren't on top of things enough to get a bid in, and now you're asking me as your architect to trust them to somehow put a roof on. They can't even bid the project.
I don't think we should go with 29.
I know.
Just my personal opinion.
I have a friend that owns a metal company, and I talked to her about it. And she said, don't go below 26. She said, whatever you do. I mean, don't go above or 26. I mean, you go
Right.
26 or below.
It's misleading because the higher the number, the thinner.
There it is, right. Well, I mean, it sounds to me like everyone that you have talked to individually has supported what we have tried to say from the very beginning. And to the point where we bid an alternate for the 24, and that was the only bid received, okay, because we knew that was the appropriate type of roof or metal roof to put on. And that was the only bidder. I mean, the bidder said, I'm not going to bid a 29 gauge, base bid is 24 gauge. Now, again, so I'm saying no to the 29 gauge, and because of that, why would I have somebody try to bid that?
Yeah.
Unless you actually, as a board, are willing to put a 29 gauge roof on Eden Elementary, why would you bid it that way? I mean, even if it came in $5,000 cheaper.
You had a motion on the floor, I was just,
You make a motion to.
you made a motion,
Yeah, to,
do what Mike said.
yeah, do what Mike said. Was just to rebid it, period.
Rebid for shingles only?
No, we could
Are you
re-
gonna,
Is there a second to that?
what size metal are you gonna rebid as? Is it
rebid it, just rebid the roofing project. Both, and open it up for, whatever, if it's shingle, metal or something, whatever, then we can accept the lowest.
But we'd have to specify 24.
Your
At least
architect,
24,
your architect
yeah.
has to decide what's gonna be in those documents.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm telling you right now, you
24.
bid it as shingles, you bid it as 29, and you bid it as, with an alternate for 24.
I would bid for 24. There's no.
And you can't afford that.
And we know what price that's gonna come in on.
But
It
we
was
just we heard
$312,000.
from Codell's man that gauge didn't make a whole lot of difference. It didn't make any difference if it's on flat.
But the fasteners does.
For the fasteners.
The fasteners does.
But McGoffin County went with 22.
I believe we have a
But they
motion on the
don't.
floor.
Okay, I have a motion to bid for both.
Yeah, bid for both.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, can we,
So we're gonna rebid for metal and shingles.
Oh, it
No.
failed.
Wait, wait, wait.
It lost.
Okay.
do I have a motion to bid for just can we do that? Just a single bidding
I'll make that motion.
for,
Let me explain to, in making that motion, I do it in the spirit of the affordability of the project and of the recommendation of our architect and the knowledge that I have gained tonight that a 29 gauge would make a significant difference to the negative of our school roof.
so your motion is to use a shingle.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 I vote
Opposed?
no.
Okay. 3-2, we go with shingles.
For shingles.
Shingles, for the bid.
Is there a bus out or something? I mean,
Okay.
it just keeps going.
Okay, our next item is going to be discussion and possible action on March 14, 2016 board minutes. Does anybody have any questions on these? If not, I'm going to be I need a motion to accept. Which one? This is on the March 14th. On the minutes. Okay. Is there any question on those minutes?
Ms. Ward, go
Okay.
ahead. Don't listen.
I would like, just something about the minutes,
The doctor said it was worse than he thought.
just, I don't know if this would be the time, like when we say there's a motion passed, instead of having a number, is there any way, and I don't know if this is, right now is the time to do this, maybe give a brief description and have these available on the school website so it's very transparent and everyone can see them and not feel like, there are several schools that do that, and I don't know that Martin County has ever done it.
They are on the web. We try to fill our little disc out before we put them on the web, so they are on the web, and just as soon as this gets.
Where at on the web? On the school website?
On the school website. Mhm.
Martin County
Board
schools?
minutes.
Okay, so everyone can see them?
Mhm.
I didn't see them.
Work on our website, it needs to be a little more user friendly.
Excuse me.
I'll make it up.
More parent friendly, public friendly.
Yeah, right.
I'll make it up.
Okay, does anybody else have any comment or? Question on those? If not, I need a motion to accept.
Make a motion.
Okay, I need a second. A second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. The next item is discussion of possible action on March the 17th, 2016 board minutes. Does anyone have any questions on these? If not, I need a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion to accept.
I have a motion, I need a second.
I'll second.
Have a second, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next item is discussion of possible action on March the 23rd, 2016 board minutes. Any questions on these? If not, I need a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion to accept.
I need a second. And a second. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. The next item is going to be discussion of possible action on treasurer orders in the amount of $515,422.86. Is there any questions on that?
Oh. Is this the, yeah. It's invoice 2292. Mr. Schmidt can look at that. That's one of the things that we tabled. What's the vendor number?
Where do you find that, Gary?
On page 7.
Thank you.
They called earlier and said that the number was on the call.
And,
Yeah, I've got one on there.
Oh, okay, well, Kathleen, can you show him
Okay, you said that's on page 7. What number?
page 7, it's invoice 2292.
Okay, this one right here, it was approved by the superintendent.
That was already approved, so the board had tabled it, but since.
Yeah, and I just, when I spoke to a board member about it, I had some information, it's up to the board to approve it or not. The board ought to approve it if the superintendent approved
Even the trip
expenditure.
beforehand.
If he approved it beforehand as agent of the board, you ought to go ahead and do it. And the problem there would be with the superintendent who approved it, but he's not the superintendent any longer. So I would go ahead, you probably owe it because you couldn't make the individual pay it. It was approved in advance by the superintendent.
Because we've asked that all things come through the board before they're done,
So-
not after.
so-
Yeah, I
So
mean,
what would be the purpose of that policy, to make sure things come through before the board,
well.
if it's not?
Well,
if it doesn't
that would
happen?
always, well, I mean, then you had an issue, if that's the case, of somebody who deviated from the board policy. I mean, sometimes you have situations, and Mr. James will have them, where there won't be a board meeting and something will have to be done and he'll do it with the expectation it'd be approved in rear. I don't know what happened here, other than that an individual received training that didn't seem to coincide with what his duties were. But if the superintendent approved it, I mean, I guess the issue is now, do you pay for it or not? And because it was done by the executive agent, we probably have to go ahead and pay.
Even though there was a policy that stated, I mean, I'm more interested in now about the policy. If we have a policy book here and say there isn't a board meeting and there's a policy that says this is how you do it and you don't do it, then what happens? Deviated from board policy, what is?
Well, if I guess, so what could the ramifications be if there's a deviation from board policy like this, and the person who deviated was still here? You could, there could be some sanctions. You could vote to withhold it from his pay or whatever. You could file a claim against him in district court to get the money back, and we might choose to do that. But that would be, you know, if he were around for an evaluation, you would certainly take that into consideration and note it as a negative on his evaluation and his performance. But those would be the kinds of things that you would and could do.
I wasn't just talking about this instance, I'm talking about any instance. If there is a board policy and someone deviates from it, that's what we can do?
That's what you can do.
Okay.
You heard
What
it.
about our?
Yep.
Superintendent, what's your recommendation on
Mr.
this?
James, Mr. James.
If superintendent approved it, wasn't me, but, I mean, the previous superintendent, if he approved it, it means we're liable. I mean, is that,
Yeah.
in a nutshell?
Well, we ought to go, you could make a case either way, but for $200, it would
Right.
On the,
Right. But I mean, I'm not even talking about this in particular now, but there's policies, and also the policies here, they have procedures. Do we have to go online to see the procedures? We don't have a copy of the procedures anywhere? Because they're not in this book.
You ought to have a procedure book. Most boards have a policy book and a separate procedure
So
book.
can we get a
or they're
procedure
both
book?
in one.
Because a lot of people don't, you all may not know, there are procedures that go along with these policies.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
we
just
also-
like that particular trip, there should have been several things listed and papers turned in. But I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about any deviation.
for the
from
whole
these-
ball of wax, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I
For
got you.
everyone, for
You're right.
everyone.
You're right.
Well, everybody's required to follow the policy.
And if they
You-
don't,
Well, that's right. You're going to get situations, one situation that you, I mean, of course, you all, unlike most boards, you have a lot more special meetings because most board members don't want to go to special meetings. But you'll have situations where something will come up that a school principal will forget something or won't get something done in time. And then the issue will come and Mr. James calls me, I'll say, don't do it. Or you at least notify each board member and get tentative approval so you can be real sure they're going to ratify it. Because if they don't, it's on your head.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but the board members ought to always know in advance what's going on. That's the way it ought to be.
I agree with, like you said, Larry said, of course, it looks like the superintendent signed off, so we're liable. My question was, and is, and will continue to be, why you would want to attend training, like I made the illustration. Why would I want to go to a football clinic and be a basketball coach? Why would I want to go to a training that didn't pertain to my job? That's, maybe there's.
how would you do that?
I would know.
That's all I'm saying. I just want to clarify that, but like you said, it's, it's like I said, if Marcy's in food service, why did I send her to, when she drives and she got to, maybe she should go to the bus driver training.
But I mean,
That was my question.
but I mean, a lot of these policies, and I mean, I'm not just talking about that in particular. These policies have procedures that have to be followed. And when those procedures aren't followed, then it's deviating from the policy, correct?
Well, the policy, you're not supposed to deviate from the policy. You shouldn't deviate from the procedure. But there is a difference. You could deviate from the procedure and still fall within the guidelines of the policy. The procedure is a method, the approved method of implementing the policy. And you should follow both. But there is a difference. By statute, boards and districts and employees are required to adhere to the policy. They aren't, once the procedure is adopted or implemented by the superintendent, it's supposed to be followed. But it doesn't carry the force of, technically the force of law. But but it would be a disciplinary issue if you didn't potentially.
Hopefully, Larry will sign off,
Well, no, just, I'm
sign
not
off
looking.
on me going to Mike Shapisky's coaching clinic, rather than go to the KSBA this year.
Oh, my goodness, you do not want to go there.
Okay,
Coaching clinic.
so is there any other questions on this, on the treasure orders?
So we're gonna get a copy of the procedures.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
On the recommendation from Superintendent James, and legal counsel, I will make a motion.
Okay, that we pay treasure orders. Okay, I have a motion
I'll
to
second.
pay. I have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I vote present. On the
Okay.
advice of my counsel.
got it.
I just happened to see one little thing on there, yeah.
Okay, motion carries.
I don't wanna-
4-4.
You don't
and
wanna
one
abstain.
But should we make a policy, I'm wondering, should we make a policy as a
We should
board
already have
that
policy in place.
there should be no training? Well, there is. There should, but maybe we should make another one. But there should be no training, or that we wouldn't be responsible for paying for training if,
I think that you don't need a policy because the superintendent understands that and
Yeah.
it's his responsibility.
Yep.
Right.
And you can, in your supervision and oversight of him, you can take care of that.
Okay. We'll move on with the next one is discussion and possible action on pay warrants in the amount of $283,765.03. Does anybody have any questions on this? If not, I need a motion to pay.
Make a motion.
Have a motion, I need a second.
I'll make a second.
I have a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries 5-0 in favor of. Next item is discussion and possible action on professional conferences, vehicle request, and use of district property. Mr. James, you want
I recommend that we agree on these. These are all, most of them are funded through grants, as you can see on there. The vehicle request, nothing stands out. There's nothing extraordinary. Are there any questions? See anything about use of property? It's just, what's in the 10?
I think it's in the minutes and stuff.
Oh, okay.
On the recommendation of superintendent.
Yes, I need a motion on that.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
Okay.
To approve it.
Okay, I have a motion to approve, I need a second.
I'll second.
A second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Approve all requests. And the next item is discussion of possible action on a finance officer. Mr. James.
Okay, as you're probably aware, Miss Tammy Sloan, she's been our treasurer for years, and she's on family medical leave right now, and been going to retire June 30th, as of June 30th. Kind of flying blind right now. Miss Marcy is doing a great job for us, and trying to keep me knowledgeable, but we really, it's probably time to see if we could create maybe like an assistant finance officer, so we can post it, see who will apply, so we can get someone in here trained, because finance officer is an extremely, extremely important position that, as you all know, it might be the most important position as far as keeping us all out of jail.
Yes. I have said the same thing.
Okay.
So there's only one finance officer listed now?
Actually, it's, well, I'd like to find, they changed law in July 1, where you gotta have a bachelor's degree to be a finance officer. You get a bachelor's degree with accounting, I think it's 12 hours of accounting, unless you have an accounting degree, or a master's in accounting. Before, you didn't have to have you wouldn't have to be a college graduate. But they've changed that now. But it's gonna be a little harder to find. Obviously, if you've got a accounting degree, it's gonna be hard to find. In the past, we've had a treasurer, and then we've had someone who's basically, in the name only, as the chief financial officer, which is usually superintendent, but it's treasurer's not involved. I mean, just, nothing else for checks and balances. I don't need to be that person. I mean, it needs to be, we need a chief financial officer, that's what we need.
Mike, could we create currently like a temporary position?
You could create a position through the end of this school year, and then that would basically cease on July 1. You need to have a finance officer in place by then. Of course, that's whenever Tammy effectively retires, they do post it, I guess, and it's the superintendent that hires it. You may still have a hiring freeze at some point after that position is posted before he hires. You want to visit that, I guess.
So Tammy's still hired until June 30th, okay? And
she is the only finance officer.
And she's the only finance officer. Could we create a temporary position and see if Ms. Long will be willing to work with this person?
Her?
Hmm?
Her or him?
I said work with this person.
Oh, I thought you said work with her.
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
work with this person, him, her, or whoever. Because I like, Tammy did a really, really good job keeping us, keeping us in hot water, letting us know where we were.
So I wanna, like, what Larry's recommendation here, which again, run that by me again. So I think Larry, whatever Larry feels comfortable.
Or even, or what Mike said, as far as creating another, because it's not a vacant position yet.
Yeah, it's not a vacant. Like Larry said, we're flying blind right now. I mean, Tammy's not, Tammy doesn't, she's on the job until June the 30th. So we got April, May, June. A lot can happen into us. Well, just like tonight, we didn't know, we don't know if we'll be able to help you all.
Well, now you're going to have in May, by the end of May, you're going to have some budget documents at the Department of Education. You're going to have something there in, June, July. So you ought to think about and consider maybe having somebody on board who can, I don't know if you were going to post an assistant with the understanding, I don't know.
What do you recommend? I'm just thinking as assistant with the understanding that you're gonna move that person.
Well, I think that, that's right. That's right.
However you recommend, if it's.
Well, I think that, if the board would create a position of assistant finance officer, obviously the qualifications would have to be that of finance officer, and with the position to terminate effective. The question is, would you have to, I'd post it as assistant for the remaining of the school year, and then for the finance officer upon the retirement of, when the vacancy occurs, July 1, right?
Right, so you don't have to.
So that would, so you don't have to repost the position for the same person. I don't think Katie either.
Would that be legal? Katie, you file with that? Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what you can do. We can call down to the Department of Education and tell them. They'll give you guidance on that. But you could, you just create the position, post for the assistant, and at the same time, for the same position, assistant finance officer / finance officer, with the assistant's job to begin whenever you can do it, and whenever you can get somebody, and the other position to begin immediately thereafter, and the finance officer assistant's position ends. That's just temporary. At the end of, July 1, it no longer exists.
Well, it definitely is a position that we need someone to be here immediately shadowing
Because somebody's going to have
everything
to do
going on.
something before July 1. You've
Right,
got
exactly.
documents and tentative budgets and initial things to be sent in, right?
So how would you make the motion so that we
To
wouldn't have
create
to
a job.
abolish it? that we created until,
Yeah, you move the board to create a position of temporary finance officer. With that position to automatically end or cease July 1st, 2016. The position should also include finance officer because the temporary will be the finance officer effective July 1, 2016. So you're hiring an assistant finance officer with the qualifications of a finance officer, and in the bidding, the documents, when you put the notice, that person will be the finance officer.
Like an intern.
July, yeah.
Like an
Yeah.
intern. And our finance officer is still doing this? She still has access to all this?
Yes. She's on family medical leave. I'm not sure she's supposed to do anything. As far as helping train a new person, I don't know if she can.
She could probably provide information. She could provide advice or ask her without coming in and.
And knowing who holds that position at the present time, I believe that they would do all they
Yeah.
could, because they take it very personal, and it's their baby. It's been their baby for a long time, and yes, that's a good way to put it, Dan.
But she'll still have access to all of our.
She has
financial
access,
information.
yeah. And what I guess you're gonna have to think about, since that position doesn't exist and you create it, you're gonna have to have it on the salary schedule, right? Because you can do that at some point, I guess.
Well, I was looking at the schedule last week. If we neither one, we're going to either create another item on our salary schedule or provide work experience. Give, if someone was accountant for 10 years or worked in a hospital or whatever, to make it competitive, because it's.
Yeah.
Yeah, because some districts now have accountants in those positions. Maybe they're not certified public accountants, but they have a degree in accounting and have worked.
And that all started July 1. So we can either look at, give years of experience, whichever, because it starts off that we're not going to find. It's all pretty low. We're not going to find someone with a college degree in accounting for that. Yeah.
It's not gonna be your average classified employee.
No.
but we can create it, correct?
Yeah, and then you'll have to do something with your salary
Yeah,
schedule
yeah,
to have
yeah.
a position to pay.
Well, if we have a special meeting about this, about the land, what we talked about next, when it
We
comes
can put it on
out.
the salary
Thursday.
schedule.
Is it when you're talking about Thursday?
What Mike said a while ago, which was a mouthful, about creating it. Did you write it down, Mickey? What?
Well, you write it when you're a scribe.
Get posting.
I just cook food.
We need to go with the finance director to get this motion, and then we'll move on to the
Well,
other,
that's on,
okay?
okay, the finance.
So we need a motion to
Okay,
create.
if I say the motion, somebody can adopt it.
Okay.
I will
okay.
adopt it.
Okay. Move the board to create the temporary position of assistant finance officer, with that position to end automatically without further action of the board on July 1st, 2016, with the understanding that the person who is employed by the superintendent in that position will become the finance officer effective July 1st, 2016, which is the official retirement date of the school's present finance officer, Tammy Sloan. The board will create a salary for that position on the salary schedule at a subsequent meeting.
Okay, July 1 or June 30th?
June 30th.
June
Yeah.
30th.
June 30th.
Automatically, yeah. What he
Okay.
said is great. Yeah.
Okay, I have a motion for a temporary finance officer to turn into a full-time officer July the 1st. Basically, okay. I need a second.
I'll second.
Have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Our next item is going to be superintendent matters. Do you have anything on that, Larry?
It's number 12 in your packet.
Yeah.
That's just new hires and one resignation.
Okay. Saying that we don't need any action on that or anything. And on the next item, I think I need a motion to table that one on the request for the property deed from the Martin County Physical Court until after the Kentucky State Board meets.
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion, all in favor, I need a second.
I'll think.
Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Our next item is going to be discussion and possible action on the 2016-2017 school year calendar.
Okay, I think you have a copy of it in your packet as well. Have all of you had a chance to review it, look at it?
We've not missed any days this year.
I missed that, Mr. Superintendent. Let me take a quick read here. I'm so used to looking at these anyway.
Told Mr. Grayson this morning, it's real, very similar to this year's calendar, the way it's set up.
Okay, you got a full spring break in there.
Yep.
Yes. Starting date, professional days, 2, 3, 4, and 8.
Yep.
That's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
And Monday.
Friday, and Monday. Yeah, not Friday. Opening day on August the 9th. First day for students, August the 10th.
I think usually teachers and principals, they like Wednesday, starting middle of the week. It gives 3 days, a short week, plus it gives you 3 days for helping find, all the kids find their buses and that kind of thing.
Work out kinks, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, does anybody have any more questions on it? And if not, I need a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion to accept the next year's school calendar as written by and prepared by Mr. James and Mr. Grayson.
Okay, I have a
I'll
motion.
second it.
I need
Since I was
a
on the
second.
committee to.
Okay.
I was on the committee, and nobody ever called me this time. Did they call you? I used to be on it.
Okay, all in favor of the school calendar, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries on the school calendar. Next item is discussion and possible action of school nurses.
Mr. Baker, you're gonna.
Okay. Thank you for letting me come before you all today. You all asked me back in December to kind of work on this problem, and so I've been doing that. You should have a report in there that I've submitted to you all that kind of sums up the work I've done and also kind of describes some potential options that you all could make a decision on potentially tonight. So just to kind of give everybody a quick overview, a history lesson. Does everybody have that? Okay. So in 2000, the 2008, 2007, 2008 school year, the health department started providing school nurses to the school. At the max of the program, we had 5 nurses in our schools. Then the high school lost one at some point. I think maybe it's been a few years back, and that was really because they felt like at the time that the students weren't utilizing the nurse. I did a lot of research, kind of figuring out, I talked to the health department, and I did some of my own research, looking at other school districts that have had this problem. And so in the 2010, 2011, I think in those term school years, with changes that were done to the Affordable Care Act, it reduced the level of reimbursement that health departments could get for school health services. So where they were getting maybe $50 per visit, they got it down to $14. So in talking to not only our health department, Johnson County, and I've looked at others, I found other news articles in Fayette County, Somerset, they face similar situations. The rate of, it was just not sustainable for health departments in the state of Kentucky to continue to fund nurses at the level that they have. So that, I think, explains a lot of what we have been seeing from the health department for the past few years. It's been a request for more funding up until this most recent year when we did the $50,000 for financial assistance and then the $10,000 for the in-kind assistance. In December, if you all remember, the health department sent us a letter saying that they wanted $100,000 for the next year, and that they wanted an answer by February 2016. We did not respond to that. That same meeting is when I said, I knew that Big Sandy Healthcare had done some work in some of the other counties in Floyd County with school nurses, and maybe that there was something we could, if we brought in another partner, maybe that would help the situation. But I guess the health department did not get the news that we were doing that in time, I guess, for it to be a difference for them. And so they effectively terminated the agreement based on their letter. I did come back to you all and ask you all for permission to go back to them with the understanding that I had talked to Big Sandy Healthcare and that they are willing to provide they have verbally committed to providing, not only to me now, but to Mr. James. He went to a meeting last week with their CEO. They've verbally committed to providing us with one nurse in exchange for allowing them to offer the dental services that they, similar to how they do in Floyd County, in Johnson County. And then also they asked that the nurse have some time at the high school. They would like their nurse to be based at the high school, or at least have some of her time, his or her time at the high school. So those are the only conditions that they asked for on that. I reached out after you all's blessing. I reached out to Mr. Ward and said that we would like to maybe renegotiate our offer. And looking at it, if we could reduce the number of nurses they would need to provide, maybe they would be able to continue their assistance if we kept our financial and in-kind assistance at the same level. I did go to the board, presented the letter. They did listen to me. However, I was unsuccessful in persuading them to do that for the next year. At the same time, and I'll just to tell you that Mr. Ward said that it probably wouldn't pass. He didn't, but he said that he would let me come and offer. Anyway, so at that point, I also have talked to Mr. Lewis, who's with the Big Sandy Healthcare, about what if the board, which I didn't have the authority to say we could do it, but if that was on the table, were there some things that we might, that money, would there be some potentially things that we could work out in that? So we kind of explored some options, and since Mr. James came into the picture, we've kind of discussed those options as well. And so that gives me to the second page there, and that gives you kind of the options. I guess for me, what we're really talking about is we're going from a contractor of our school health services, from a nursing standpoint, to basically a direct provider. I mean, that's, if you want to think of it that way. I've put in there what I estimated it based on my discussions with the nurses that the health department provides, what it would cost us to provide the same level of nurses. So you can see that in the middle of page 2. I'm sorry, I didn't number these. And then with training, so assuming, of course, all these options assume that that you all will enter into an agreement with Big Sandy if they provide the nurse for next year. That's kind of separate but a part of this, but that's kind of these options all assume that we're going to do that as well. So option 1 would be what I would call is kind of the Floyd County model. Floyd County, I think, employs 2 nurses. I know that they have 1, maybe 3 at the most, which if you think about it from a student perspective, they have about 6,800 kids. So their 3 nurses is not covering as many as our 3 nurses would be. If that makes sense. So what they've done is they've gone to a school health assistance model. So what you would do is you would select a classified staff person to become the school health assistant. They would do a special training over the summer. It's about 5 days worth of training. And this allows them to conduct several activities. And just to kind of help you guys kind of help you all differentiate between what a health services assistant would have versus a school health nurse. That's what this second, these from Boyd County, I found these job descriptions, so that kind of gives you an idea of what a school nurse does versus what a health assistant would get. So the health assistants can do things like medication, first aid, keep medical records. If you want to look at the job descriptions, I think that would tell you for the services assistant, kind of gives you an idea of what our health services assistants would do. So we would be out the cost of sending these people the training this summer. I'm assuming that we're not going to hire people to do these positions, but rather would be probably Mr. James and maybe myself and the principal kind of talking about who and taking an existing staff person and making them the health services assistant. I talked to.
But we could. I mean, we could if we need to.
But we could. I mean, we could hire. But I mean, just that's why I did put on there what it would cost for 4 assistants. Okay, I'm assuming that we would do 4 assistants at the elementaries and middle school, and that the school health nurse from Big Sandy would be at high school.
Or we could do the 5, one health assistant at every school, and then we still got the nurse.
We did talk about
at
that.
high school that could go on call.
Yeah, kind of frees her up to do.
Go either way.
Yeah. So I mean, assuming that so it's a little harder to pull that out, but for 4 nurses, you can see there, the cost would be around. I estimate to be about $59,000. That's the salary, in kind, everything for the health assistants, and I'm basing that on probably somebody who has some years of experience. And that we would probably, given the nature of the job, that we would probably do a new salary schedule, I guess is what it's called, that would be a little different. But it's hard to kind of say that we were going to have to spend that money. Does that make sense? What I'm saying, that they may be people already employed. Okay. Anyway, so obviously that's one option. The second option would be. That we, just based on what I've talking to the nurses that they're currently paid, their hourly rate, looking at what other districts pay for nurses, I estimate we could probably pick up 2 of the nurses that are currently employed through the health department, so that we would have basically the 2 nurses from. That would be our nurses, and then we would have the Big Sandy healthcare nurse as well. So we had 3 nurses potentially. That would be the second option. And then and I talked to Johnson County. This is more of kind of what Johnson County did. Their health department did the same thing a couple years ago, and they decided to retain the nurses
and the nurses have basically a split school schedule, so they're at, you know, like this, I think that the one that's at the high school is also at the middle school, because they're, you know, on the same campus. You know, the one that's maybe at W.R. Castle is probably at Porter, because it just makes sense from a staffing perspective. So we could go to that, so I would see that you would probably have a nurse at Inez Elementary and Eden Elementary that would split, or one at County Middle School and Warfield Elementary School, though, that would split. And so what it kind of boils down to, I guess, is, you know, for next year, unless, you know, we would basically be reducing services. I mean, we're not reducing services, I should say. The health department reduced services because they would not agree with it. But regardless of that, the services will be reduced. So I guess the question that's before us and what you all want to do is, do we want to have a more qualified person half the time, you know, between the two schools, or less qualified but more coverage, if that makes sense? And I would say, you know, if you're to kind of help you look at if we're going to go with option 2, which would be the school nurses. If you look at under the second page there, that's on the back page of what you all have for the school nurses. It says, you know, specific duties, responsibilities, and kind of talking to people that do the school health assistants and then also the school nurses. Really, what I can see is that item 12 or duty 12, if you are looking at what I'm talking about on the job description, the sample job description from Boyd County I provided. Duty 12 and 13 is what I see that, you know, if we continue nurses, that's what we're basically continuing. That's what the reason we're paying. Obviously, the nurse is going to cost more. So you know, one thing that nurses provide is they have substantial specialized nursing knowledge, judgment and skill in providing primary health care to students. So that's, you know, they do have training in initial assessment, management of minor illnesses, referring to other health professionals, managing chronic diseases, promoting healthy lifestyles, disease prevention. And then the 13 there, they serve as a health advocate for students and as a consultant to educational staff. I know that a lot of times, if I go into working with a student and I see that they're on a lot of medications, I'll a lot of times go to the nurse and say, you know, what do you know about these medications? What might be some of the side effects? So that kind of thing. They may, you know, so that's the resource that you have with the nurse. The last thing I would say too that is really, it's kind of a third option, but it's not, you know, in essence, because we did talk to, if you remember, I said we talked to Big Sandy Healthcare about what we could do, and they had they put forth the idea that we could enter into a joint agreement, whereby the nurses, the school nurses, if we hire 2 nurses, if you all decide to go that way, would be employees of the Board of Education, but they would also be employees of Big Sandy Healthcare. And what the advantage for us would be is that these individuals would now have access to the medical records of Big Sandy Healthcare, and there'd be more continuity of services. For example, you know, if we're, you know, I was talking to one of the nurses about, you know, how she saw that this program could be different next year. You know, right now, a kid comes into a school and has a fever or needs some sort of medical treatment, and she told me the parents would not send them. She would tell them several times. She had to get to the point where she said, I will call social services if you do not take this child to be treated. And so, you know, this parent, maybe there was a transportation issue, I don't know, but so next year, you know, if we have this program with the backing of Big Sandy, you know, one of the things we might be able to provide is we would have somebody like Kara McCoy, who's the nurse practitioner, who actually can come out and prescribe medications. So if it may not be an issue, she can assess the child, do some of the testing like strep tests, those kinds of things, and
prescribed medications on site. So it's really exciting. And the other part of that, again, that option 2.1 I'm calling it, is that they would they'd be trained in their system, they'd be a part of their team, but they'd also be our team as well. And they'd be given laptop computers. So because one of the issues with splitting a nurse is that they're going to be they're going to be at one school and then something's going to happen at the other school. Well, if they've got this laptop computer that has their records, it's a real easy thing to pull that up and see what they did, and be able to talk intelligently about to that parent regarding that. But those are kind of the options. I mean, basically, like I said, it comes down to do we want more expert care for half the time, or more coverage for more of the time, all the time.
I like your option. What the 2.1 sounds very, very good. I mean, it sounds.
And it's also what the advantage there too is because in looking at what other agencies, not just a school, but looking beyond that, what an RN can make, and talking to RNs, a lot of them they like this school schedule. They have children and they like to be off with their children. That's an attractor to the job. That's what makes the job attractive, because they could go and work at a hospital or work for Big Sandy Healthcare and they would make more money, but they like being home with their kids. And this though has the option. Let somebody they would, when they go to Big Sandy to work, because they would be a joint employee, so they would ask them to come and work some in their clinic. They would be paid by Big Sandy when they're there. So that gives them the opportunity, if they do need to make more money, to do that. But if we went that route, I mean, these nurses currently, I'm assuming that we're going to keep the nurses that we have. They're already on the state health plan, state retirement, so they would like to obviously stay if they can. Again, any other questions or anything?
What's the cost? I mean, I know that.
The cost for the school nurses, this is including salary and assuming that and the fringe and the $10,000 for the supplies. It varies, because what we have to think about is, right now we had 4 nurses, but I think Terry, your old nurse, is left.
Yeah, she's gone.
So we don't have a nurse. You don't have a school nurse at Warfield. So we basically have 3 nurses in this pool. Big Sandy they will hire one of these nurses for the high school. I mean, just to make sense that if they're going to staff a nurse, they're going to put somebody who knows the school, knows the community in there. So I don't know. Yes.
So either way, we're going to get one nurse.
We will get, if we enter into the MOA with Big Sandy.
See, I like option 1. But we'll get one nurse?
We would get,
also?
even if, either 1 or 2, we'll at least have 1 nurse. You're right. And then that nurse, especially if we have a health assistant at each school, that frees that nurse up, that if there is a situation that she does need to go to the school, she can. And she can be on call and be a part of that, be a resource for those health assistants.
And that 1 nurse would be what cost to the board?
That would be 0. That would be the Big Sandy. Other than letting them come do dental services, that kind of thing. And I've thought, I've given this a lot of thought, and I think that, we can make these 2 options, to me, are the 2 most sustainable options for us. But the cost would fluctuate, if we went option 2, because it depends on the years of experience of the nurses, and that's why there's some range there.
Well, I like the option 2 one, because you said you will have a nurse practitioner who could, if the child was sick at school, could prescribe medication.
Right. And even with 1, we still would have that. The Big Sandy's committed to that system of having that person be there, and as a resource to those health assistants and to that nurse. So
your health assistant, what kind of training would they have when the day is done?
I have talked to, the Floyd County people, and so they have offered to, Jennifer Martin is the me, I guess, over there. She's their health coordinator, and she's actually a registered nurse. And they do a training, and they've offered to allow us to partake in that training, at no cost. We would just have to pay the employees to go to the training.
How long is that training?
It's a 5-day training is what I've been
Okay,
told.
so option one has, we can get one nurse and, how many 5-day trained nurse?
Health services assistant.
And in, option, 2.1, you actually have.
It's basically option 2, but it just has it would be the joint agreement part of that with Big Sandy, which isn't any more cost, but it's at least not financially, but there's, we would be basically having more integration of 2 systems, of the school system and of Big Sandy Healthcare, and that can be more complicated. So that's kind of if you want to call it a drawback, doesn't necessarily deter me, but it would be more complicated.
Only because it requires more collaboration between the schools.
Absolutely.
And that, and, I'm like you, I don't really call it a complicated, option.
Both, we have neighboring districts. Floyd County makes option 1 work, and Johnson County makes option 2 work. So it's, we just, it's not an easy situation to be in, but we just have to, like I said, hopefully I'm giving y'all enough information that you all can make a good decision, for the
Which
kids.
option do you like? I know that.
I like option 2, because I like the idea of the integration, but then I know that at the same time, and I've heard the nurses say this, you're never gonna be there, because here's the issue, that when somebody that's, looking at it, they say, well, 99% or 90% of the things that the nurses do could be done by a health services assistant, and it's that extra percentage that, where the nurses, skill and judgment comes into play.
But we would have a registered nurse.
We would, that's absolutely, we would still have a nurse, and Big Sandy has said that they would allow, because I think that, and I need to check on this if we do go that route, I do believe that we have to have a nurse supervise a health services assistant. And so, I was told that they would allow their nurse to be the nurse that is supervising our assistants, so.
I'm pretty sure that the nurses that came to one of the meetings said all they could do was administer medication and Band-Aids, and anything after that or anything, they had to call 911.
Right. You're talking about, that's all the nurses could do?
I'm pretty sure. I can't remember exactly.
You're right, they can do some initial diagnostics, and that's why I wanted to provide the job description. They can do some of the initial testing. I think that it's, I guess the way, it's been really hard for me to tease out, how the advantage of having the nurse, and quantify it in a way that, here's why you need it. But I think some of it's peace of mind. Talking to some of the nurses that, they've developed a relationship with the parents. A lot of parents will bring the child to school, let that nurse check the child, and then to make the determination.
You're talking about an option 2.
I'm talking, yeah. And I'm talking about what they do now. They'll let the nurse check the child for fever, and do some initial diagnostics, and then she'll kind of say, you need to go on to the doctor, or you need to, you can stay, it's okay to stay, he or she.
They will be able to do that after this year.
Yeah, our health services assistants are not gonna do that kind of thing, but they're gonna be there all the time.
Do that.
What's that?
The 5-day nurse will not be able to do that.
Yeah, right, they wouldn't have that diagnostic kind of, role. They're mainly gonna give out medications. And I can actually, I mean, I think that we could probably train them to do that. I'm trying to look here. I mean, it does say, shall utilize, I'm looking at this health services assistant duty, shall utilize a variety of health products and supplies in caring for injuries and health needs. So I interpret that to mean, you know, they could take temperatures, and we could kind of maybe work with Big Sandy Healthcare to develop maybe like a decision rule, like saying, you know, if it's above this level, you need to they need to call the parent, they need to go to the doctor. You know, I think the general rule is below 100, they can stay. Above 100, they should go to the doctor. So
They can always call the nurse.
and they can do that. Yeah, that's absolutely right. They'll have that person as a resource. And if we do the 5 health assistants, then that would free that nurse up to be able to be, you know, on call, so to speak, and be able to travel.
Well, they have the option of calling that student's a physician to find out if they want to see him or.
Well, that's the great thing about if we did the option 2. Well, the nurse would, yeah, because if it's a Big Sandy patient, I mean, you know, if the child goes there, they're going to have that nurse is going to have a computer, and she's going to, anytime she interacts with a kid, she's going to interact into their computer system. Let's if the child is a patient of theirs, when they go to the clinic in Martin County Clinic, they're going to that information is going to already be in the system. So yeah, I mean that way. But no, I mean if they're not their patient, then there'd be kind of a barrier between the organizations. That makes sense.
But if it's all through Big Sandy Healthcare, there'll be a patient there.
Yes. Yes.
So that's not a question, right? That's not even an issue, right?
No, right, yeah. If they're a patient of Big Sandy's, that's what I'm saying, yes.
But
If they're already
registered nurses from Big Sandy,
Right.
they will be a patient of Big Sandy, correct?
Yeah, they would be. If they're, yeah, I see what you're saying, yes, they would be. Because they would be seeing that nurse and they would be entering it in. Because, you know, for them, they're not like, the health department, like I said, at one time got $50 per visit that they got from. This group will not get that because they are not a health department. Only health departments were eligible to receive that reimbursement for registered nurses. They can only see reimbursement when like a nurse practitioner or a doctor is involved. So, you know, even at their clinic, if the child doesn't see a doctor or a patient doesn't see a doctor, they can't reimburse through Medicaid. But then there's also the option of insurance and stuff. They can, you know, not, and some of our students have insurance. So there's a lot of facets to this that we can discuss.
When do they need to know for sure on this?
Well, I mean, the sooner the better. I mean, I've told Ansel to be ready to come to the next board meeting to make a decision. Hopefully, I was hoping to be able to tell him, you know, let's work on this if we want to do the joint shared agreement, or if we're just going to stay with the one nurse for what we've already discussed. So, I mean, the sooner I can tell him, the better. But I mean, he's planning to come to the next board meeting to present MOA and to answer questions. And I think there's practitioner McCoy is going to come as well, so that they're, you know, we kind of do that. That's kind of the plan.
So do you want to make a decision tonight, or do you want to take this and maybe go over it?
I definitely, first time I saw this, I understood less. Now I understand more, and thank you, sir, very much. But I have some real doubts in my mind right now about turning over, but I want to talk to Mr. James, and I'd love to talk to Miss McCoy, Kara, and if she could maybe make herself available. I know she's so busy up there at the clinic. Maybe I'll get sick this week and go up and talk to her.
I mean, I know this is a bad, it's in some ways a bad decision, but it's also exciting because, you know, I think this is an organization that is committed.
Oh, I
to
do
this
too.
county.
I do
And they
too.
just bought the clinic.
Yes.
So they plan to stay here and be a, you know, a part of the community. And so I think it's a good,
I would just like to
long-term.
make a comment, I'm very appreciative of them stepping up, you know, but also at the same time, very disappointed as far as Martin County Health Department is concerned, which, you know, our taxpayers and everybody pays taxes, health service taxes, and our most important resource in our county, in my opinion, are the children of Martin County. And for them to pull out, to me, it's disappointing. You'd think, since Big Sandy could provide one nurse, you would think that Martin County Health Department, since there are Martin County kids, could provide at least one. Well, that's my opinion, but I appreciate the research that you've done, and certainly commend Big Sandy, and appreciate what they're trying as far as going about to help us, but that's all I have to say.
And the health department could get reimbursement back, Big Sandy cannot.
That's correct. Well, they could reimburse for giving a kid an aspirin or a Band-Aid.
Right, I
You
mean,
know.
I'm just trying to add on.
Yeah,
to what
that's,
you
that's
said.
hard for me to understand, you know, where they get reimbursed, but yet they.
Someone who isn't going to.
It is, because it's, I mean, even though the money that they would get would not cover the nurses, that was money that this community's missing out on. That could have been a benefit to, but, you know, you don't have control over that.
What are you gonna do? Right.
To the taxing district.
What do you feel, Mr. Superintendent? Everyone else has called you that, so I'm going to. Have you made a decision, or you need to
I
time
can,
to?
I don't know, I mean, the question is, do you want someone there all the time? And a registered nurse a phone call away, or 15 minutes away if you're eating, you gotta go to Warfield? Or would you rather have someone that's more qualified half the time? I mean, that's the bottom line, what comes down to.
Oh my gosh,
Well, we can wait till we hear from the guy at the next meeting. Ansel.
Lewis, okay. If we, I mean, he's gonna come and he can do we can do the MOA for the one nurse and the dental. That was something we kind of had already negotiated. And really, after looking at this, the only addendum to that would be that if we did the joint agreement, which I don't know that would need that much more, you know, it would need some more language, but I think we would probably, it would benefit us to go ahead and definitely, we gotta get this, he would like to have the MOA by the next board meeting so that he can hire, and start the hiring process, the training process for the next school year. So, you know, definitely we need to have this determined by then.
I think our architects had asked about us having a special meeting the last week of April, so maybe we can have this time to think about it till the last week of April, so we'll be ready for.
We can kind of, yeah, that would be best, that might be best, if we probably need to have have a decision on the health services versus the nurses.
By the next board meeting.
Yeah, by the next, yeah, so that we go into that meeting
Right.
with a decision made. I would recommend that.
Have you seen the memorandum of agreement?
I have not, we've not.
You better look at it a week or so in advance of your meeting.
Okay.
Let us
Yeah,
see
we
it
need to
too.
see that too.
Okay, so
Okay.
I could probably get a draft one if you're having a special meeting at the end of April. That way you all could look at it at that time. Would that be, is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, I think they ought to see it at least a week in advance of the meeting.
Yeah, of course, I wouldn't just bring it in without having the people look at it first.
Could you send it to our board attorney?
I will. Or I'll send it to Mr. James and he'll send it to him.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, we really appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay, next item is gonna be new business, discussion only. And we have one of the audience that wanted to come and speak on the water situation.
Appreciate your time. Don't want to give the impression that I want to antagonize, but as you well know, we have a water problem. And I noticed, and I don't mean this negatively, but the board hasn't discussed what Mr. Harless has said our most valuable resources is, and that's our children. And I know our water system is what it is, and there's nobody there that has any magic wand to fix the thing overnight. It's not going to happen. So in the meantime, our children are exposed to this water by way of the food, which is cooked. They're at the schools, they eat breakfast, they eat lunch. And of course, then there are the water fountains. And oh, by the way, I have 2 grandchildren in school and soon to have a 3rd. So anyway, I have a definite interest. And I know that there are sometimes, and not all times, that the water has chemicals in excess of the EPA standards and so forth. And part of the problem is nobody knows it until after it has occurred. I'm sure you all got the little blue card that told how many times the levels were in excess of the EPA. And the problem was that it had already happened. You know, I mean, it already happened. And I know that there's been a report that it takes you 70 years of consummation of this water to cause a cancer. That's true. There probably is a report, and I'm sure I can find one that says it won't cause any problem, period. It's just, what do you want to hear? Statistics are available. But also, and I've looked at this thing, this problem is not unique to Martin County with these chemicals. It's a worldwide problem, and they all deal with it in a similar way. But they have to keep the chemicals down. We have a problem with our water plant, we have a problem with our intake. It's not going to be solved tomorrow. So in the meantime, the food that our kids eat that are cooked with this water is going to have the chemical contaminants in it. Now, I don't know if you all have, if you consume city water at the house, or if, as some say, you drink jug water. You know, I don't know. But I have done some research loose. I've not been in near as much detail as he was over the nurses. But anyway, you can put water, commercial water distillers in each school that will supply sufficient quantity of distilled water to cook with and to put in water fountains for each school, commercial distillers, for a maximum of $50,000. Okay.
That's district-wide.
District-wide. I'm not trying to sell you a water distiller. You do that. But the water distiller is going to evaporate, as you know, all the garbage. You put any kind of water in a distiller, and it comes out H2O. And everybody reacts differently to every chemical. And they even sometimes get some chloroform in the water. Chloroform. You know, and all these other chemicals, and they're not always in excess of the EPA limits. They're not always. But when you got the blue card, you found out it had been over for how long, and nobody knew it. So I would like to ask you, now I'm well aware that money doesn't grow on trees and all this and the other, and the time frames and everything. But I would like to ask you, as you go into your next fiscal year, that you would have somebody actually look at the cost, real cost, of commercial distillers for each school, so that you can put distilled water in there that the girls or whomever will be using to cook with, and have clean water for water fountains. You don't have to worry whether the chemicals shoot up or shoot down or sideways, or the water turns yellow. You know, if you're not really looking at that water, you don't know what you're going to put in them beans or mashed potatoes or whatever. So I'd like for you to consider that. Thank you.
Okay, let me ask you, you know, with the commercial, with these distillers, you would have to somehow try to split your water system up to where you have water that's going to the kitchen, water that's going to the
Restaurant.
water fountains.
No, you can go ahead.
Okay, as opposed to water, you know, it's obvious that you don't need it in the distillers if they're going to the job.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, I would say it's probably safe to wash your hands in it, maybe. If you got antibacterial soap. Okay, but you know, the distillers would be good if they went to the kitchen and went to the water fountains. That alone.
Okay.
And just leave it at that.
Now, I heard one parent say, I don't let my kid drink out of the water fountains at school. I send bottled water with my kid, and the kids don't turn up and drink a whole bottle of water all at once. And, I mean, none of my place did. I don't either. But anyway, and put it back in the book bag. Well, the seal was broken. Teacher had her to throw the water away because the lid had been off. That's not nice.
No, I know.
So how could they pay for that? So how could they pay for that?
So you know, I don't mean to make disparaging remarks about the people of the water district, water plant. I'm not doing that. You know, they're good people, like you all. But they got a little bit different problem than what you have. You know. So anyway, that's it. $50,000 push water distillers throughout the county in all the schools. Now, if you will do some research better than I did, you might find the same thing for less money. I wasn't looking for that. I was just seeing getting the ballpark figure.
I like it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you have anything, Larry, new business?
I'd like to make it, I know James Kirk is here, and of course, I guess he probably didn't know the procedure, but I'd just like to speak maybe for him if he wants to, and I've talked to Mr. Baker also, of course, we mentioned to Larry, we mentioned on that school resource officer about the grant. The window is open to apply for a school resource officer. And I know that's what James came with, and I asked him to come. Of course, I should have told him to fill out the paper so he could speak, but I don't know how the rest of you feel, but.
I can read in about 2 minutes, Roger. I have a little speech.
I make a motion to suspend the rules and let the man speak.
So next time you will know that we have to.
I don't use this, and I'm not here to cause any problems. I'm just here as a concerned grandparent.
We said before that there should be a sign out there, and I don't think there is still. So go ahead.
Go ahead.
And I gotta say straight up front that I'm for placing the guard in the high school. Now, things aren't as bad this year as they were last year. Last year, it was a fight or two every day. My grandson would come home nervous, and you know how it is when you're in that atmosphere. But the way America is changing now, sooner or later, we're going to have some foreign people living here in Kentucky, more than likely. They could easily end up right here in Martin County. I'm not saying there would be troublemakers, but I'm just saying we need to be prepared and think about it. Now this is my own philosophy. Placing a guard in our school will show everyone that our educators are serious about providing a positive atmosphere for all the students and the faculty. Also, most of the parents and grandparents that I have talked to support this train of thought. It is a proven fact that a happy, contented student will perform, learn, and retain information much better than a tense, nervous student. Also, and I've talked to several teachers, also teachers take their jobs more seriously if they are instructing students who are wanting to be exposed to new information in an environment that is friendly and peaceful. This type of atmosphere makes students want to learn and will result in our test scores going up, hopefully year after year. In closing, with our president opening our country to accept thousands of new people, our students are going to face challenges they have never faced before.
Being exposed to different religious beliefs and unequal social standards will pose new problems for our students, and it will pose problems for the new foreign students also. The new foreign students will be putting in a whole new situation also. I do not have an answer for this last problem mentioned, but one thing I do know. I will feel much more comfortable with a trained security guard in our school monitoring every new situation that arises. As parents and grandparents, we are all concerned that everything should be done to keep our students in a positive environment, safety-wise and learning-wise. I will definitely feel more positive about student learning and student interaction if a security guard is monitoring our high school. The U.S. senators and congressmen that I called about our situation felt that we're on the right track concerning student safety and maintaining a positive learning environment. I think the good students, the people that, now we all know that some students learn better than others. Some are a little more, as I say, rowdy than others. But if you're a kind of a rowdy student, and you've got a guard walking up and down the hall, you're not going to be as near as rowdy as you would if you didn't see nobody. And that's my personal opinion, but I've talked to several different other people. And even students, even their students tell them that they would feel more comfortable if they knew a security guard was there watching over them. So,
I'd just like to comment, of course, as a school resource officer, we collaborate, which we've talked about as far as with the local, or sheriff and
Whatever
so
happened
on.
with that? I thought we were supposed to do that.
But anyway, there's grant money out there that's available, which I think Larry will check on it. Talk to some people. E-Town has an excellent program and had great success, and along with other districts. Of course, this involves not just, as far as discipline or that. We certainly want the right person in there.
right.
We don't want somebody that's going to come in, which manhandle one of our kids or this or that. But it involves instruction and safety. It involves as far as CPR training and different things that they also work, with middle school students also. But I just like, and we've talked about an SRO, and I think it can be a good thing, and actually a very good thing, which we mentioned before about collaborating with our local law enforcement people. Again, you got to have the right person. I think it's something worthwhile, worth checking into as far as how much grant money we can receive and for how many years and just what the program's about. And the window for applying or making an application for this grant for an SRO is April and May. Last year, we talked about applying and making application, but we waited too late. I think we talked about or discussed it the 1st of June, which was too late. But I appreciate James coming in and voicing his opinion. I don't know if anybody else has any opinion on it or not, but and of course, what the board, my fellow board members, what their opinion. But definitely want the school as safe as possible. And, like I say, it's been much better this school year as far as altercations or whatever. And I'm really, and I'm sure everyone here is happy about that. But again, I think it's something worthwhile, worth checking on. And again, Mr. Baker and Larry, see what it incurs and take a look at it. I don't know. How do you feel about it?
Well, I think Ronnie knows that with cop grants, like in the past.
Yeah. Community-oriented police services.
Yeah, but what you have to do is that there's grant money out there, but it's matching grants. In other words, the federal government may pay 75% of the salaries for 3 years, with the understanding that in the 4th year, you pick up the full salary. That means if you're going to pay an officer.
That's something we need to check on the details. Some of them say 3
let's say
years,
that you're
some
going to
say
pay an officer
$5.
$50,000 a year to do that. Well, you're going to $25,000 matching grant up until the 4th year. Then you'll pay all of it, and which I don't have a problem with. I don't have a problem if we've got the money. I don't have but I would like to see if this is a possibility. It was done in Wayne County, and then was one of those things that was done at
Wayne County, Kentucky?
No, Wayne County, West Virginia.
Oh.
Yeah, well, they had an SRO, well, they had a lady there in the school, and she was there for about 2 or 3 years, and then she was gone. And, well, what happened, the grant had run out, and they couldn't do it. Of course, you know, I would have no problem with doing it for the duration of the grant, and then in the 4th year, you know, we may have to lay that person off. It'd be nice if we could have something more, I guess, sustainable, where we could stay in the program. But
And like I said, it involves a lot of other things as far as, you know, safety, instruction, and bus safety, and a lot of other, you know, different aspects of the program. But I think it's worth looking
Right now,
into.
aren't there safe school, where's Mr. Baker? Aren't there safe school money?
Yeah, yes, I'm not checked into it, but before the last few years, it's been basically all in salary.
All in salary?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure the whole process here, but can I ask a question about this particular thing? As far, I think that's a wonderful idea if we had something like that in place, but how would the disciplinary action follow-up work from that? Like, say we have an incident where the officer in place does intervene with the student that's doing something that they shouldn't, or it's a fight, or whatever the case is, where does the disciplinary action from that come from? Will it still be from our principals, or?
Yeah, it's still be from the principal.
So when is the enforcement of that going to become stricter? That's my problem. I mean, the officer will be wonderful. I think it needs to be there, and I think it will eliminate a lot of problems that's happening. But if they don't have the follow-up support from our principals and from our staff to do the disciplinary action that's required to stop it, nobody being there is going to help.
But if you have a student assault another student, that's out of the principal's hands. I mean, you know, it's assault.
It should be, but at the same time, my son called me from school at the high school this year, and we had to pull a half-inch piece of wood from a pencil out of him. And the only thing that was done about that was supposed to have been the remainder of the week suspension for the student. And on the books, it does say he had the remainder of the week in suspension, but he was in my son's class 2 days later.
Well, it would appear that, okay, Mike Schmidt knows this, I mean, is this, you know, if you have a kid, if you have a student assault another student to the point of bringing blood.
I was told that I shouldn't be so upset, it was a misunderstanding.
But the sheriff's department should be called in, right, or law enforcement, is that correct, Mr. Schmidt?
That's where these policies come in hand. I mean, they need to be followed through with.
Well, if you have an assault or something that's serious, yeah, but the principal's always responsible for suspension, you know, discipline, yeah, but if he thinks it's a serious assault, then yeah, he should call.
Okay, well, if you've got, what you said, driving a
I've got
piece of
pictures,
wood.
a half-inch piece of pencil about that big. You know, that piece of lead, that's an accident. That's horseplay, something accidentally happened. To put that much of a pencil into someone's flesh, there's force applied. That's not, oh, I bumped you, I'm sorry, I got you with pencil lead. That's, hey, I'm gonna see how far I can go.
About 6 months. Yeah. I would think principal.
Just saying. I mean, I think that's a wonderful idea, and I do think it would stop a lot of problems. But if we don't have follow-up discipline happening.
I think just the presence of the adult, like I say, SRO will stop a lot or deter
I think just calling the law in your case would stop a lot of this.
I understand what you're saying, I understand, and you're right.
Did you take this matter to the principal?
Well, to the principal, to the vice principal. We addressed it several days in a row.
How were you notified that your child was
My
injured?
son called me. He went to the office and he called me.
Did he have to go, did he go for
He
treatment?
is a 15-year-old boy who was horribly embarrassed because it was in his backside. And I could not, we had to take it out. His clothes was pinned to him. He wouldn't let anybody do anything with it.
Oh, it is in his, yeah. Did you go to the doctor?
We didn't because he was too embarrassed, and at 15 years old you tried it. So we just called the doctor and did appropriate treatment and medications and took care of it. Should have, in hindsight, but, you know.
You get them, Shelby, then you get them. I'll let you play, whatever you do.
Not concerned there.
Okay, on the grant, Charlie, have you talked to someone about applying for the grant? See if we can get
I
it?
mentioned it, you know, for the last, actually the
Yeah,
last couple of years.
So what do we do to get it started?
I'll get started.
Okay, you
I'm
get
just gonna
started,
check on
okay.
it, of course, I can
Okay.
phone B.O.E. Masters, will be one person, which I think James has talked to B.O.E. Masters out of EKU, which might help you some on what needs to be done. I can get your phone number.
Is there any other new business?
I'd like, I don't know, yeah, I was gonna say, I've been checking on this website here. There have been no minutes submitted since December of 2014. Are you talking about the school website?
Yeah.
There was none for 2000, I mean, I think every meeting, there have been none since December of 2014. 2015, it says, no items found. Now, I don't know if there's something wrong with the website, because if they've been submitted, they're not on there.
Mr. Mullins can probably take care of that for you. Anything else? New business? Okay, if not, we'll move on to reports. Do you have anything from the administrative staff report? Or the Martin County Education Association report? School course, okay then. I guess they're not, next item is a motion for adjournment.
I make a motion.
We have a motion, I need a second. We have a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Who said opposed? Motion carries.
67.